sent me. The RFP said they will coordinate with the local utilities. So there it is. I don't care what the contract says.
The RFP states
Says
that.
that they would coordinate with the local utilities, and I remember sending you an email on that.
Yep, you did. So what I need to do is I need to go through the.
Because he's
RFP.
gonna be difficult
it.
about it.
Oh, yeah.
See
But
that
we
right
can- We
now.
can just ask the town attorney to help us out.
You know, the reason, and I know I might be belaboring the point, but the people, you have to understand that, one, this district was under a notice of violation with the DEP 5 years ago.
Right.
We spent over $100,000
Mhm.
by DEP's order to map the entire system, including pipe inspections. And we were also docked on record keeping because there weren't.
Understand.
So, all right, with that, we are very adamant about how things are done in records. We inspect all installations and removals.
Mhm.
And I don't care what Lewiston does. I don't care what Portland
State of Maine
does.
does.
I don't care what the state of Maine does. This is Monmouth, the Monmouth district, and this is what we adhere to and we will do. Now, he should have, like I said, that clause was in the RFP. I don't know if it was in the contract. If it was not in the contract, that contract is poorly written, and we can have that discussion with people who wrote the contract. Those pipes, I have to know what happened to them. Did he remove the manholes? Did he remove the pipes? And so on like that. I don't know. His pictures are not adequate. I don't know where he took the picture. He doesn't want to discuss it. He says, I took a picture.
Okay, so, and I know you've written, initially to me.
Mhm.
What I would like is what you just said.
Yeah.
If you could just document that, the reason why,
Yeah.
because of the citation.
Well, there's a second reason too. And this is why I'm saying the concrete plug is not adequate. Concrete is not solid.
No,
You know
porous.
that.
Yeah, exactly, porous.
And when you
And it
put it
can
in a
fail.
pipe plug, it shrinks and allows water.
Right, and you can't have that because of your
can't.
record keeping.
Well, not only that, the district is built upon flow measured at North Monmouth. And the more flow we have from unwanted sources, the higher we have to pay for treatment at Augusta and O&M on the trunk line. And that includes debt and everything else.
Okay,
So there is an expense right there that directly translates to the users of the system.
okay. All right, and what I would really like, because I don't know all of that
Yeah.
verbiage, I'm happy to incorporate it and I understand it. But I need an expert to write it up. So if you would give me those 2 points, and I will scour the contract and the clause in the RFP, send it to Justin with a CC to Mary and say, we need, and this is what's going on, and the cost savings for, and yeah, he seeded. I didn't know, I thought it didn't, I couldn't see, but that's.
No,
I
he
was
says he
looking
did,
for
but
it.
that's a pretty poor job for seeing.
But leaving, not having to demo and dispose of what's out there, in our opinion, and I don't know, I don't know what the value would be, but it's gonna be
It
close.
should be some sort of a trade-off.
Yeah,
Yeah, it should be a whole lot more.
There's, right,
Yeah. Taking that entire foundation and slab out and crushing it up and disposing of it, it's gotta be more than digging up a
I mean,
sewer.
my estimate came up with, it should not take anybody more than a day. I think I'm being generous with a day.
right,
But you have a contractor, if we had dollars, they'd have to mobilize, bring equipment up here, dig the thing up, would have to do the inspections. Now, somewhere he cut the pipe. I'm not sure where he cut it. But we'd have to find that location, and then it looks like he cut the 8-inch pipe, I think it was 8 inch at that point, and put a cap on that 8-inch pipe because the concrete is not adequate.
Did he put he just poured a bunch of concrete in the pipe is all he did?
Yes.
on the end,
That's
open
the
end of the pipe?
that's the picture I saw, yes.
How is that okay in anybody's
Well,
world?
he
not.
purports that is standard operating procedure.
It's not with Augusta, it's not with Winthrop, it's not with us.
Mm-mm.
And we come
Can
under
we,
the,
can we get something from the other districts, the local districts,
yeah,
that quantify what the criteria is for proper capping?
Do you know anybody in Lewiston?
no, not in Lewiston.
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
because he works in Lewiston all the time.
Yeah.
He says it's okay, we do it in Lewiston all the
Well,
time.
Oh, that's
Lewiston.
Lewiston.
They don't care what happens down there.
Well, I was just throwing that out. If we
But
could
I
talk to
think
somebody
if
from
we can
Lewiston.
have some, some feedback from other districts
Mhm.
indicating what their criteria is. And again, if that wasn't, if we.
Well, like I say, we are
verbose
particularly
about-
sensitive to it.
Mhm.
It's,
Well, that's fine. but he-
because it translates into large dollars that we then have to sort of translate to fees for a small user base.
Right,
And we
I
get
agree.
we get no assistance from the town.
Mhm.
We get no assistance from anybody. It's all based on user fees.
I wonder if Auburn is as slack as Lewiston. I think if
Well,
Lewiston is indeed
Well,
lax. I mean,
Lewis and Auburn, Lewis, when it comes to sanitary, Lewis and Auburn are the same.
They are the same. Oh, the same district. Okay.
Yeah, water and sewer.
Is that something, Paul, that you would have time to check into, or is there
Yeah, I
somebody?
can send a couple emails. to him,
Okay.
sure.
Just,
Because I know I discussed this with Dan Wells, who's the operator. Well, he's our essentially local operator. They come and make, through Winthrop, they make the daily inspections for the pump station.
okay, yeah,
Mhm.
And obviously, we work with Augusta all the time because we are under the jurisdiction of Augusta.
Oh,
They
yeah.
hold, Augusta holds the wastewater discharge license through them, buy it from the federal government and have to dump into the Kennebec River.
Mhm.
So under the law that was passed a couple of years ago, dealing with satellite wastewater treatment collection systems.
Mhm.
And then for that, we are under the auspices, have to abide by Augusta.
so that's the information I think that Mary will need,
Mary Dennison.
okay?
Mary has also served as the attorney for the sanitary district because we've used how Lake and, well, before it was Lake and Dennison, Huffnagle and Lake.
Yeah,
Right,
you know,
right, okay, yeah,
And that, but we've had some other issues and Mary's not dealing. I'm not saying she won't help you here, but I don't know. Yeah, you
so,
might,
but I reached out to Justin and, he's so new
yeah,
that, I like to not only have him involved, but
well, he would have to be because he's with the town.
yeah, well, yes,
It's all-
but I can't stop it
This
with
is-
that. We
this-
have to-
This
we have to go
committee is
further.
not independent from the town. It's under, it's
Mhm.
a subset of the town. So it's all gonna come back to Justin and the Board of Select People.
Well. All right, so at this point, I think what I have to do is I have to talk with Justin about the water district. That was, just so everybody knows, That was-
$100.
yeah, so everybody has a copy.
There we go.
$1,100.
Mhm.
Thank you. And what Justin said was that they have a little bit of money left over from work that was done on the buildings or budget for work on the buildings
Mhm.
at large. And that would easily cover that.
Now-
And Scott's interpretation when he was talking with me is he did a random chat. Because he talked with somebody on site who said, we don't need those, it's outdated.
Mhm.
Which is why I leaned towards, hopefully with everybody's approval, leaned towards saying if there's the money for that,
Mhm.
for $1,100 of what he was told by somebody in a random conversation that it was outdated technology. You know, he took action based on that information.
Yeah, I can't imagine who told him that, though.
Well, that's what I said, but nobody seems to know.
Mhm.
We, two guys that spent, hours up here looking for the water main.
Could be, I don't know. So that's that, and what I think we have to do is my opinion only, but I think we have to try to do everything that we can to move out of this part of the situation where we thought that you were going to be able to help,
Mhm.
and that
Exactly.
ended for a brief period of time.
Almighty Waste is also in violation of the dig safe law. He hasn't said anything, but the dig safe law requires that anytime, and Dawn, you should be
Yeah.
aware, anytime you do any
Exactly.
digging or excavation or anything like that, you are supposed to know that you call dig safe. But because the fees to belong to dig safe are so exorbitant, the local district, we do not belong to. it.
Right, and so when that happens, you have 6 other entities that you have to call.
Well, exactly. So I never got an email, I never got a telephone call, I never got anything, either at my cell phone number, my business office, or through the sanitary district office.
Okay,
And because if he had called DigSafe, we would have had to come up and mark the sewer lines. The only reason I came up and marked the sewer lines that day was because Dan Dumont, the Public Works Director, called me and said, I need to know what's going on with the utilities.
Okay.
So he's not only he can argue with the contractor all he wants, but he didn't coordinate with the local utilities and he violated the DigSafe law.
okay. That information, I'll make that note, but that's also to know that you were not notified by any of the entities. I mean, I even had to call for down on Howard Street. I even had to call the University of Maine.
I get
Seriously.
DigSafe notices from CEP and everybody all over town, if they're
Yeah.
doing anything.
Yeah.
And so on like
Well,
that.
I think the biggest problem was they got here way before we ever anticipated them coming to start demo.
Yeah.
And so there were a lot of things that we were caught off guard. I
Mhm.
mean,
And we didn't have a
we
guiding
didn't
light.
have any, and we didn't have, the transition between Linda and Justin wasn't very smooth. And, there was a lot of things lost in translation.
Absolutely.
And
It
the one
wasn't-
point I will agree with Scott in hindsight is that we did not have an inspector on site.
No, we
Absolutely.
didn't, but we had wanted that.
And that was the plan.
It was the
But
plan.
They showed up.
They showed up and, we were like, okay, they're coming now. And then I was up here, I was calling, I don't know how many phone calls I made trying to find out where the water line was because my mother had worked for the water district forever. I'm like, all right, Mom, who can you figure out might know where the water line is coming from the street to the building?
Yeah.
So she's calling Rod Cumber and, going way back, trying to find out who knows what.
Aaron
And,
Wells is the one now, but.
but he didn't even know where it was because they were out here looking for it. They were out there for hours that day. Didn't you? I talked to you that day when I was up here trying to figure out where it was. And I said, well, from my mother's recollection, it's right there on the front lawn, but it would, I think there was a lot of confusion and it was, I think a lot of reasons between
Mhm.
not having Steve, having a new town manager, them showing up
Right,
early.
and
And all of
I could
us
beat that
learned
dead
it.
dog
Yeah.
exactly, because Steve, you should have been, that was our intent. You were our eyes and ears, so. Is that actually Mary Costigan, Bernstein Shore?
Oh, okay, I didn't think it was Murray
Yeah.
Dennison.
So, and she had looked over the RFP and the contract and said, because Justin sent along the letter that he wrote that Scott said that everything was approved. His letter stated, with that $67,000 payment, the project was done, blah, blah, blah. That should have never gone out either, But Mary looked it over. She read what he said because his intent was trying to convey that I approved of the changes in scope of work. And that they were done well, meaning, you know, the leaving this, that, and the other. So her response is, you know, if that's the case, I don't think that the letter boxes you into anything. They still have to take care of utility capping as set forth in the RFP.
Mhm.
And the only thing set forth in the RFP is coordinating with the local
Exactly.
utilities.
And that would never happen.
Mhm.
Yeah,
So,
because I think we had, when we talked about doing the RFP, that was the thing that we talked about with you.
yeah.
You saying
you were putting your foot
coordinate
down about
with
that.
the local utilities.
Mhm.
So,
All right, so do we have any more, do we want to continue this discussion at all, or are we pretty much?
I just have one more question.
Sure.
Why weren't they also contracted to remove the underground oil tanks?
I'm not sure if that was a separate,
I'm pretty sure that was a separate contract that
separate
Linda
contract.
told me about
yeah,
Okay,
way back.
yeah.
but it hasn't been done yet. I
No,
mean,
no,
so-
no, no,
They
they're
have
still
to-
there.
The
They have-
underground storage tanks require special licenses and
Yeah.
handling and
Oh,
that.
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's all through the,
You just can't come in and dig them up.
Okay.
No, I think so.
I was at CMP when they set that up and I'm like, you leaky underground storage tank. And of course, they all use acronyms.
Yeah.
And I'm like, guys, really?
Mhm.
What it came up with.
I'm pretty sure that she had a contract with Samards.
Smarts.
Yeah, I think that's the company, as I remember, because they came in and I
They
think
sucked
Dead
it up,
River
right?
removed the oil,
Right.
and then they were supposed to remove the tanks, but I'm sure they're probably waiting for someone to tell them to come do it.
Yeah, okay. All right, so that's something. we
or
have to
they
talk
had a
with Paul
contract.
About in
That's
our,
something Justin should have records of.
Yeah.
Okay.
So would that come out of our money or does that come out of the town's money?
I think wouldn't that isn't part of the, it would have had to been done no matter if we left the building or tore it
Right.
down.
Right.
So I'm presuming it has something to do with the transition as opposed to our reconstruction.
Mhm.
We've, in our meetings prior
Yeah.
to this group, the underground storage tanks were never discussed. It was just the building
Okay,
because everything else had to be taken care of that we had no control over.
Mhm.
Hi, Paul.
Hi, I was just going to add that when we started the project, that in fact the tanks were separate and they were supposed to be removed outside of this contract, is my
Outside is,
recollection as well.
that's what I thought, but
Yeah.
from our prior meeting, sorry, we were locked out. That's why we
Oh,
weren't.
that's okay.
Immediately. So we met actually out in the parking lot.
Oh, nice. Well, so I'm glad you got in, although it's a
Yeah.
nice night. So
We broke in. No, we didn't. We had somebody come up and.
Don't say that after what happened in Lewiston. I could see those. And it's a 10-year-old, two 12-year-olds and a 13-year-old, I think, did the damage in the old Longley School.
Can't
God.
Oh, my God, awful.
All right, so Paul.
Now, the only
Yeah, go ahead.
when they get to removing the underground storage tanks, better call the sewer district again, because there's a line that runs very close to them.
Okay,
I trust that they will follow the dig safe procedures and they'll mark it, but at this point, I don't know.
okay, so there's a line there's a sewer line.
Oh, yes, the line that's in question of where they capped it and so on runs through there. I mean,
Really should have learned to take notes. That's awful.
so again, I'm
Okay.
putting it out there that
Mhm.
they better contact me.
Okay,
I know where the stuff is. I can come up and reestablish it.
We had to call Dig Safe for the 2 years that we put the banner out in front of the
Oh,
school,
yeah.
for the graduation.
Yeah.
We had to call Dig Safe to make sure that we could.
Anytime you dig a hole or anything like that, yeah.
okay, are we all set with number 3, which was thought it would be funny if it was number 2, but I couldn't do it. Are we complete with Almighty Waste?
I believe.
All right, so we can move on to item number 4. Okay. I think, I just wanted to make sure, Paul, if anybody had, we've all seen the design of the sign.
Yeah.
Paul, you had sent along some thoughts about it being
Yeah.
very busy.
Mhm.
Does anybody else have any thoughts?
I like the idea of having the floor plan on there or whether, so people that do stop and look at it, they can see that. The contractors, obviously,
Yeah.
that's imperative to have that on there.
Mhm.
But, that, I'm gonna make copies of that so we can have it, at Alumni Day
Right.
and Apple Fest and things like that. So when I'm
Okay.
doing fundraising, I can have that. I'll make that up and, but I was happy with it.
Okay,
Yeah, I just felt this too much.
Right.
Obviously, like I said, the contractors, designers,
yeah,
that's there, all right?
right.
But the floor plan and the different elevations, I think if you just reduce it just to one elevation. the front
I like the
elevation,
plan view though, because that's what
Okay,
people
like the
want to
pla-
see.
the plan
We'll see
view.
what's
Right.
gonna happen inside.
What is going on the inside
Yeah.
and maybe, making, if we're gonna do anything to address that, the front elevation smaller to free up some space if that's possible, but
Sure.
as a whole,
I like
you
that.
liked
I
it?
like-
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I like the different elevation views, I think.
Did you? Yeah,
Right.
yeah, having it, the front elevation and the plan, but I think the
Yeah.
plan view is
Right.
the one that answers the questions.
Right.
You know,
what's
what-
gonna
what's
happen inside.
What's the potential?
And I think that's so important to get that out
Yeah.
because so many people in town just think we're doing the outside.
I
They're
know.
like,
Mhm.
Why
you know,
doing
why are you
that?
saving it and spending
Yeah.
that much money to save it? And I think it's so important for them to
See what
be
the
able to
municipal-
drive up and say,
Yeah.
oh, that's what we're looking at.
Mhm.
And yes, that would be nice to have
this,
a
that,
family
yeah,
reunion
right.
there or a, small gathering.
What are your thoughts, Paul, on our comment?
We were looking at modifying the sign a little bit based on the comments that we got about
Yeah.
making exactly what you're saying. Let's make the plan bigger. I think the plan is important because it does show people what's going on, and eventually we'll have an even more developed plan so that can be used for marketing. Right now, we're kind of, until we get our pricing, I don't want to give any false hopes.
No.
So,
Yeah,
But this is enough. But this is enough to show we're doing something. The elevation I thought was just a nice drawing. So, so what I'll do is I will send the revised version tomorrow morning
Okay,
to you, Don, and then
Yep.
I spoke with George at Nickerson O'Day today. He's all set to have it printed on a 4x8 sheet of plywood. So,
okay,
and I don't know how long that'll take, but they'll print it and then install it wherever we tell them.
okay.
Assuming we'd call DigSafe first.
You better also put some sort of, electric fence around it, because the cost of plywood, somebody might say.
Yeah, I
Let's not
know.
take it and,
Well, I say plywood. They may do it on something else. I don't know what they use exactly,
Yeah.
but it may be that plastic board. But in any case, I'll send that tomorrow because I want to make sure that everybody sees the version and signs
Okay.
off because it's the first big sign that you're putting out,
Right,
and I want to make sure everybody's good with it. So,
Okay.
but yeah, so we've reduced basically what you're just saying, made the plan a little bigger, reduced some of the image, but kept the text as it was. I think I
Right.
moved the signs. I changed it to say the renovation of the former Monmouth Academy Hall. I think that's what we need. That's what we've been calling the project.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but you'll see that tomorrow because I
okay. Now,
realized.
what we want to do then, we don't have to get that approved from the select board. That's a decision that we can make. So when you send it out, and I know we're not supposed to reply all because that means it's a meeting, but I will forward that. And if everybody could take a look and just singularly reply, okay? And then I will let you know so you can get that out to George as quickly as possible.
Okay, great.
That
Yeah,
sound-
in that way. Yeah. And I think the 4 foot by 8 foot is the right size. It's
Oh, yeah.
people driving by will see it. Okay, good.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, does
Okay.
anybody else have anything for Paul? All right, I think we're all set. Thank you for trying to get in here. as we
Yeah,
were
no
trying-
worries. I'm sorry I couldn't be there in person, but we're,
Yes, I've
you
already
know.
talked with him
So
about the
he's
12th.
okay with it.
Yeah, and you're okay with the 12th, right, for our next meeting?
yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'm
Yeah.
hoping we'll get the numbers before so we can do a little review.
Well,
Uh,
what Randy told me was that he was waiting on some extra numbers from some pretty important.
Yes, yeah,
And he didn't feel that he should send one number along. You know,
yeah,
so-
no, I think they're doing the right thing. We're still on schedule.
yeah.
We're still working on drawings. I mean,
Right,
things that we know we're gonna do, like restore the exterior and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So, but you know, the numbers will give us some good direction. So
yeah, he didn't think that it would be past Friday. He thought we'd
Yeah.
have him on
Okay, good.
Friday. But just in case, you know, you never know what happens, so I'm like, okay.
Yeah,
If you need the weekend, because you worked last weekend, much to the chagrin
Yeah.
of family on Father's Day.
yeah,
But, so, you know, the latest we would see something is either Monday or Tuesday.
Yeah,
So,
that's
but
good.
as soon as he gets it out, and he wanted to make sure that you got it directly so
Yeah.
that you start working on your design.
right. And we've been in contact. I've been talking with George has been my primary contact.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I know they're working on things. So it's not,
Yeah.
they're not
Okay.
just delaying. So,
Oh, no, that's,
but
yeah,
yeah,
okay.
yeah. So,
Anything else?
Okay.
Yes, I have
Yeah.
a question. Will your design include the idea of a patio out there on the lower elevation?
yes, that's what we've been working on.
Okay.
We met up there a couple of weeks ago, and we're looking at a way that we can get sort of access to the lower part, and then also access from like a vending, a truck or something coming up to unload, and not do it at the main entrance. So
Oh, good
there's
idea.
and then we were looking at extending the front porch a little bit as a deck so that it would could be more usable, because right now you can't really walk on it. So I'll show you that, and that's something that we can price, and obviously it's not we can decide to do it or not, but it was something we talked about on site and trying to make that front part of the building more usable, and also thinking about people wanting to take pictures on there.
Yep.
So that's there, and then we were looking at trying to get the windows to be as big as possible to get as much light in as possible. So it was a good site visit, and we got a lot of things worked out. So
Great.
but yeah, so and I'll do a review of that with the pricing and et cetera when we meet on the 12th.
Okay. All right, we all good? Thank you, Paul.
Okay.
We appreciate
Thank
you
you.
so much. Take
Thank
care.
you.
Take care.
carefully.
Bye-bye. Yeah, bye-bye.
All right, I think that sounds good. Now, Paul did send along his May invoice, and that's another thing I wanted to talk about is how we do that. I've never done this, but I've always been on the one waiting for the check. So I don't know, we're talking, I asked George and Randy if they had an invoice yet. They don't, and I wasn't there when I left. So I did let them know that if they missed tonight, we're deciding that we're gonna be meeting earlier in the month, so that would just delay, you know, his June bill until the first, you know, within the first week and a half of July, and still could be paid within a reasonable period of time. So when we're doing this, do we save these discussions for payment for like after this kind of discussion? Or because of course the architect, as I said in my note, the architect has to help us. You know, we rely on the architect to say, yes, actually the mechanical is at, you know, I would say about 50%. But they've got all their materials on site, so this number makes sense, kind of thing. So so we're talking with them about that. Their invoice isn't part of that discussion. It's a separate part of the discussion. But you know, what my intent is, and I've asked, I didn't know Justin wasn't in today. I asked for what has been paid to date. I got his April bill and I have his May bill. And what I would like to do is I would like to keep a running tab. This is what we've paid the construction manager so far. This is, you know, what has been approved for the project so far. And this is what the design team has cost us so far. So hopefully when Justin gets back, I have those two bills, but I don't know if there's any more that are out there. I don't know what he's been paid so far.
Is Justin out tomorrow also?
I don't know. I didn't know he was out today, so.
I would think that somebody would just simply set
Justin.
up an Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I thought, but I don't have, I can't rely on
It's out more than he's.
I have to rely on getting that information directly from the
No, when they send
contract.
the, when the designers or the contractors or whatever submit the invoices, are they submitting them to the town office? They're submitting them to who? You doing?
Sending them to you directly.
Sending you to you directly.
Is that normally how it's done? See, I don't know. This is my.
No.
first go
Well,
around.
it would.
No.
it
Doesn't
would be-
usually
it
go to
would
the
be in
town.
C-
It would go to the.
What I've asked them to do is send it to the both of us, because I have to call daily if I'm gonna get any information, and I know people are busy. I am too. I would like to know right out of the gate what we're gonna be looking at. So whether it's addressed specifically to Justin with a CC to me, or me and a CC to Justin, doesn't really matter to me. But this committee needs to have the
Well,
information.
I agree. Now, the town is the contracting.
Yes, the town
That
is
was
the
the
contract.
contracting, but we're the first approval.
We are the,
We have to approval, then it goes to the select board.
Yes.
Right.
So we obviously have to have all of
So, yeah,
those.
so they should be addressed to the
Mhm.
town, CC to you or whoever.
Yeah.
The town should be compiling this in an Excel spreadsheet so you can see paid to date, pending,
those are all
budget.
separate though.
pardon?
And when I asked for AP for like when Almighty Waste was paid,
Mhm.
I got the AP for that warrant,
No, see, there should be a total Excel spreadsheet. I mean, it's not.
which
that-
I can do.
Yeah.
That's my
Well,
forte.
that's probably would be great if you did that.
And
you know.
that's what my intent is,
Okay,
that
yeah.
that we keep a running tab
Mhm.
as I hit things. We keep a running tab so we know, I know what the parameters are for the
Mhm.
construction manager.
Mhm.
I haven't done the calculations yet because I just found Paul's copy of his contract. So I will do the math to
Mhm.
make sure that, here's the lowest budget amount that we're talking, here's the highest, and where do we fall in that? Because both are
Right.
based on percentage.
Right. Mhm.
So of what our contract,
Do-
actual contract comes
Do
to.
we have someone in the town office? I know that there's been some turnover, who actually follows through on what they're supposed to do, because I can tell you that at the election, a manila envelope was brought up because they hadn't been put in the back of the books to put the new registrations in, and they just brought a manila envelope and said, here, just use this. And my husband, who is the deputy warden,
Right, yeah,
opened it and there was a check,
there was a check in there, yeah.
a check. And he goes, to the town of Monmouth.
Right.
And he was like, here, and, oh, we've been wondering where that was. So I have to say, in all honesty, and I know that this is broadcast to anyone, but I am concerned that the i's are dotted, the t's are crossed, because this is a big project that we're doing. And if things aren't paid, it's gonna fall back on, like, well, what's the committee doing? Why hasn't,
Well, and that's why I've been really adamant about, we need to be meeting early in the month. Because what happens is, we want, when we have our subcontractors working on this project, we want them like thinking, this is actually the place we want to be because they
Yes.
pay well.
Yeah.
Right.
Entertain us.
I'm on a project right now that it's 75, 80 days.
Yeah.
Because they can't get a committee together to approve a rent.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I don't want to be, I'll tell you what, I go there begrudgingly
yeah,
because I know how long it's gonna take to get paid.
right.
So I don't want that. So that's why I'm trying to make sure that, we can get our meetings scheduled so that we can review them before, and I know some of the select board meetings are really early in the month. So that's why I'm kind of shooting for whatever falls in the middle of the month or after, because if we hit by the middle of the month, we can get on the warrant for towards the end of the month, and it can, if the checks don't go out, before the end of the month, still they'll be there at the beginning,
Yeah,
but
right,
within the
right,
first
right.
10 days.
Right.
That's a fabulous thing to have
Yeah.
happen, and I'm trying to buy goodwill from our
Yeah.
subcontractors.
Exactly.
Well, yeah, because people talk,
Yeah.
and, it's like, oh, you don't want to, you don't want to bid on a project at Monmouth because you don't get paid.
And we've already got one that's sour.
Yes,
Yeah.
very.
So I want to kind of nip that in the bud.
Yeah.
So, and if we're tracking and we're seeing what, where we stand with all three, with, or all two, with the design, three, the building itself, what we're paying and what the construction manager is billing, I think we can, on a monthly basis, we really know where we stand. I know Nickerson and O'Day will know they have, things in place to make sure that they are on their budget. That's what I'd like to emulate in our tracking. So if at all possible, and Lord knows I'm not perfect and could have a brain cramp at some point, but that's what I would like to have happen. So with that, we have Paul design project. Where's my Paul design file? I was late for my own meeting today because I was doing this stuff. Everybody out in the back office going, how do you? All right, so there's his bill for May.
Yeah, I see.
And he also, and I didn't make copy of this one, his April bill was 11,000,
Even,
11,453.94. Okay. That was for a principal architect, which is Paul. Architectural designer must be his assistant. And then Turk, some money, and then a structural engineer. So that came out to 11,000. I can send this to you guys if you want. I just forgot to make.
So that was April.
That was
yeah,
April.
11,453.94.
I'm pretty sure that was on the warrant last time.
You think so? Okay,
Yeah.
because he sent this out early thinking that we could get it in the next
Mhm.
meeting and we had missed that meeting, so. But so I'll expect another one here shortly from him. So at this point, I can't tell you where he falls in what
Percentage of what is.
percentage right now.
Mhm.
Until
Well, has he submitted other invoices prior to?
right, that's what I asked Justin for today, and
I
I didn't-
remember him being on the warrant more than once.
Okay,
So,
all
I
right.
would think.
I would imagine because he's been doing this for a while.
yeah.
Yeah, he's been doing it at least since last November.
Yeah.
Right.
It'd be nice for you to have copies so that you
Well,
can.
that's what I'm
Yeah.
thinking is we need to have all of this. We
Mhm.
need to have a good idea of where we fall with his total anticipated budget.
Mhm.
And I call them in and outer markers, this, if we could hit this.
Yep.
And if we go over this,
Mm,
that's where I try to
mhm.
balance it,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, I know he's been on the warrant
Okay.
a few times, so I'm
Okay.
pretty sure that was on.
Does he submit the invoices in writing or as PDF?
Well, the format, I don't, they come to me as a PDF. I don't know what he uses to generate them, but,
Well, I don't know what he generated.
but it's a PDF that,
Yeah, when I generate my invoices, I can either do a hard copy mail to the client or I do a PDF.
yeah, I think what I understand, I think what he's done is he's not mailed them, he's emailed them
Yeah, all right.
to Justin, and I've gotten them, Justin's gotten the other ones,
Because if he's submitting them as PDFs, very easy to send it to town office with the CC to yourself.
and that's what I'm having him do. And that's what I've asked,
Yeah.
Randy and George, and because as I said earlier, I don't care if it comes to me, I'll send them to you guys, including, and I always CC Lori, I've got Justin and Lori, that whatever I have, I send to them as well. Unless it's just a specific committee issue. But, so in looking at the invoice for this month, we have to make a recommendation to the select board as to getting it on the warrant. We did, have at least one meeting with him. He's done several meetings this past month, one down in Portland. And then, of course, coming up here, that'll be.
They have an on-site meeting.
Right. So I feel, for the amount, I have no problem recommending that.
The one thing I would recommend, he just states the individual, the position and the man hours
Mhm.
times the rate. It would be helpful if you would at least put a summary of what occurred to earn those man hours.
Like when we have to fill out a T&M sheet, I
Mhm.
can't ask for a change order without the supporting documentation.
I mean, when I do an invoice, it's so easy. They get the date, print the person who did it, and a brief description of what we.
Right, and I can ask him to do that, to give us a summary of what he was working
And I have
on
to do that
Mhm.
for
for
particularly
the,
big
you know,
clients.
for
They
the
want to
month.
know what I
Just
was
give us a
doing.
brief summary so we can present that to the,
Yeah.
to the
Yeah,
select board.
tell them the select board wants to see
Yeah.
what's going on.
Yeah, yeah. We know the man hours.
It
but
doesn't
what
have
was-
to, yeah,
what
it
was-
doesn't have to be elaborate,
No,
but
no.
just say,
No,
you know.
you know,
Visit.
sign, blah, 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 yeah. Okay,
On-site meetings that.
yeah, just a brief summary.
The one thing I'll mention just in passing is because Kimberly, who did all the, payable at the town office, isn't there any longer.
That's Angela.
Pardon?
Angela.
Angela, sorry. No, I didn't
I was
mean
like-
Kimberly. I said the wrong name. Sorry.
Yeah, she was just there.
She was just there. I'm
How did
sorry.
that
I
happen?
said the wrong name. I'll blame it on my aneurysm. There you go. Names have always been my worst thing anyway. So anyway, so Angela isn't there anymore, but what the select board has given approval for is Talbot, Berry and Royer. They're a big accounting firm.
Yep.
They have a group that just does municipal and, that's all they do. And they're gonna, and we'll end up, hopefully being to the good without the salary and benefits.
Right,
and
yeah, the whole
On and on
thing.
and on. Plus, if she's out, who's
Doesn't
doing
matter,
that?
right.
They've always got somebody that's doing it. And,
No, I think that
it was,
good.
came highly recommended from, another town that's used them for quite some time and been really happy. Plus they're CPAs. They're all CPAs.
Right, that's good. Yeah.
Nobody there was a CPA.
Well,
And they'll be able to do everything with getting ready for the audits and things like that. So, but that being said, there might be a little bit of a transition from one
Where-
system going to them, but we approved that last week. So hopefully they're well on the way to having that transition being
Okay.
accomplished. But I
Okay.
just wanted you to
No,
know that.
that's
So
good
if all of a
information because-
sudden there's a lag with
Right.
things getting paid,
Mhm.
that's why. But I think it's a good move because.
All
Well,
right.
now, the other thing is do the contractors, and I use that loosely to cover the designers of that. Do they know that they have a cutoff date or a
Yeah,
certain
20th,
date?
they're,
That they have to submit their invoice in the month to get paid by a certain date?
yes,
As
the
long as they know
the
that.
construction managers, Nixon O'Day used your standard AIA form.
Mhm.
And in that, it used to be the 25th. It's been backed up to the 20th now because it is taking longer to process things. So subcontractors have to have their requisitions in on or before the 20th, or they miss
Yep.
the window, it goes to next month. And then that gives Nixon O'Day 10 days
Yep.
to either, to compile it, but also to
Yeah.
50%, really,
Mhm.
and communicate with the architect,
Right.
because that's the architect who who actually kind of approves it.
Mhm.
They're the ones that work with the owners
Yeah.
that release the money, or approve the release of the money, okay. So, yeah, we would expect to see from Nixon O'Day, right after the end of the month,
Mhm.
because they've had 10 days to compile the information.
And then
from
if
the
we have our
subcontractor.
meeting is shortly after the first of the month,
Right,
we
then
can do our approvals
we
or.
can do our reviews, make our recommendations, and checks can go out, in whatever timeframe, but it would still likely get from the 20th of June,
Mhm.
review the beginning of July, the check would go out and arrive, hopefully, this is always lovely. That day before I have to send the requisition out, I can actually say paid up through
Yeah,
last month.
Yeah.
That's the ideal that I would like to hit as much as possible. It may not be possible sometimes, but that's what I'd like to hit.
Well, by the time it goes through several different chains there and up through us and then to the select board, and then out and get the checks written and mailed. There's a lot of
There's
different
a
hands
lot
in the
of
pot.
things, right? There's a lot of things. That's why I figure if we just try to look at what these, what the schedule is for the select board,
Mhm.
if we can get to something at a select board meeting that's not much past the 20th,
Mhm.
to get it on the warrant, not much past the
So the
20th.
select board meetings, Chris, are what,
Every other Wednesday.
every other Wednesday, so depending upon how the calendar falls, it can be.
Which is why we thought that maybe the 12th would work, because
Mhm.
that's Wednesday, the 13th. So we can have our discussion, get it to Wednesday, the 13th, and then it can go on the 15th warrant. We can make the recommendation on the 15th or 14th, whatever the day is. And then it could
It'll be on
either,
the next
it would be on the next
whatever
warrant.
I think it,
Right.
well, will help expedite approval of all the invoices, rather than coming from subcontractors.
Oh, yeah,
If they explain, put in their invoice a summary of what they did or what they're billing for.
yeah, I reckon.
Then you can say, all right, yes, this is reasonable.
Right, now the construction manager is gonna do that. We will get a form, because they use the AIA forms that give you all of that. Here's a contract, any
Yeah.
change orders, what's been retained, blah, blah, blah.
Mhm.
And when you go to the continuation page, every scope is listed out. We can ask for schedule of values. It says, okay, if you're doing the grinding and pointing, on
Mhm.
here, but then there's washing, and then there's, whatever, brick replacement, we can ask for schedule of values identifying each one of those items if we want. Or we can just say masonry scope. Some people do, some people don't, but if we want to be able to see the percentage complete just by that sheet of paper, that schedule of values is gonna tell us that.
Mhm.
So, okay. All
There
right.
will be retainage on all this, I assume.
Yes, although I had a little hiccup. I've got to reread the construction manager's contract, because I saw a 0 where retention was being held, and I've not been a construction manager, so I don't know. I know there's 10% for subs. But I
Not
don't,
for them.
but I don't know. Again, I was just kind of perusing through to try to familiarize myself. So I will,
We could ask Paul
yeah,
if that's
yeah.
normal.
I looked and I was like, I don't think so. But, I've not been a construction manager. I don't know how that differs. I know general contractors are retained.
Mhm.
I just don't know the difference. And I'm anxious to find out what the difference is, but I don't know the difference on that.
Okay.
So. All right, so do we want to, with this, although we don't have the details, do we want to make a recommendation to the select board to accept and issue a payment for Paul Design for
Yes.
$165?
I give the motion, we should do that. That's not a lot of money.
Do we have a
I'll
second?
that.
Larry, okay, all in favor?
I,
Unanimous, okay. All right. Fundraising.
So actually, I got a spreadsheet of what had come in, and a couple, Tex Tech gave $1,000.
Cool.
Mr. DeBlois, who was my history teacher and consumerism teacher, sent 35. So these are letters that I sent to people. He's the only teacher that I sent, well, that responded. I sent out 3 or 4, probably 4 or 5 to teachers, but Mr. DeBlois sent 35. Waterman Fire Machinery, I sent them a letter because
We had
all
them,
the
yeah.
older, well, all the older Watermans went to school. And they sent 200.
Nice.
And then G&E Roofing sent 5,000. So I thought it was pretty happy with that.
Really?
Yes, so because Steve Lapointe, who showed up at my house to see my contractor, and I'm like, what are you doing here? He graduated a year behind me. He
No
works for
way.
G&E.
Yeah,
And so I was talking with him about it. He's like, here's my card. Just email me when you have the information and I'll get it to the right person. And then, so I sent him the letter and he forwarded on, and then I was in communication with the lady there and she's like, are you a 501(c)(3)? I'm like, no, this has nothing to do with the
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Academy trustees,
Advertising.
you know, this is, so she had to figure out what line it could come out of to give us money.
Right.
So my question is, as these have come in, do you want me to just handle thank you notes now as they come in or as I know, or do you want me to bring them up here and we'll all sign them, or do you not want to bother with that and I'll just send thank you notes?
I would say just you do it.
Steve,
them up.
I'm appointing Steve to the thank you notes.
More appropriate instead of delaying it.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I think
get
the
the
So-
immediacy of
So
it
I will
is
just,
important.
I'm gonna mail them thank you notes. I'll also probably send, a little note to the lady that I was in communication with by email with Jeannie Roofing. And then most recently, I talked to Jim Sangden and the Goldstones that bought the monstrosity, land, the lake frontage from the Woolworths. They have a family foundation. So I sent a letter to their family foundation.
Mhm.
So we'll see what we get from
good.
that. Priscilla Woolworth, Jim and I talked about her and he said, if you can find an email address. So I found an email address. I sent her something. I haven't heard anything. And he said, but if you don't find an email address, just let me know. Because of course he doesn't want to just,
Yeah.
I mean, since the Goldstones have a family foundation, he just gave me the address and, how I should address them. And so we'll see what we get from that. And I sent a letter to Mrs. Mannheimer as well. But I forgot about the Schneiders. Does Jim know the Schneiders too?
I don't believe
Okay,
Jim
so the
does.
Schneiders are the ones that own the Philadelphia
Yes,
Flyers, right?
yes.
So-
If you go to Cumston Hall, where they have that quilt that
Yes.
Penny Ackley made.
Yes,
I think there are 2 or 3 Snyder foundations referenced
Okay.
on that.
Oh,
And same with the, I think if you go to DFD Russell Medical Center,
Yeah,
they had
yeah,
a
okay.
list of,
so that was the one I was
Oh,
missing,
to go in and
so,
peek.
yeah, you can find out
So-
which Snyder foundations donated to that.
and then I can Google them and find addresses, but, so,
I mean, I've been in contact with Serena Snyder. I've recently done work for them.
oh, really?
Yes. And I mean, it's not something that there, but I guess I could forward you her email address.
Mhm.
I don't know if I should or I should.
I know, it's always hard to,
Yeah, it is.
because it's a funny position that you're in.
Well, they
so.
must have, like you said, they have
Yeah, they have
foundations. It's there
foundations,
to
so
just-
once I can Google
She
them and I'll
uses
find
a
them.
personal secretary that a lot, obviously.
My
So-
cat is my personal secretary. Because I have to share the chair with
Yeah,
him
well,
in my
exactly,
office,
yeah,
so,
yeah.
yeah,
I use
So
my dog
anyway.
as lumbar. So
I'll,
Yeah.
I'll send you some contact and maybe she
Okay.
can help you get in touch with some of those.
okay, all right, that sounds good. So the other thing is I have 70 blankets. I meant to throw some in the car because I knew you wanted one, but anyway.
Oh, I got one mine already.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm gonna get, I'm
Okay.
gonna get some for the,
Yes, so
Alumni Day.
there are 10 per box in my mother's.
yeah, she told me.
Oh, she did.
Oh, yes.
All right, so anyway,
Now, have you thought about talking to the owners of Kippewa and Coppice, Kippewa?
no, see, I don't know I mean.
There's
it's been-
they're both owned by a group out of White Plains, New York, Camp Group.
Really?
Incorporated. And they both own that. I know I mean, obviously Kippewa and Coppice go back a long.
Oh,
time.
gosh, yes, they've been there
Over a
for,
century.
Yeah, we used to throw rotten apples at
yeah.
Camp Kippewa girls when they walked by the house.
Well, exactly.
'Cause they were going
to
to-
steal our boys.
Well, they were they'd walk down to Spencer's little candy store
Yeah.
and across the bridge, yeah, and we'd hide behind the trees. Yeah,
But,
then they called our
uh,
father.
I'll send you the information I have on them.
Yeah, yeah.
And you can see, and it's worth a try.
Oh, yeah.
I can say is no, but I
Oh,
think
they
they
can
would
say
probably
it's
come
no.
up with something.
So, exactly. So, I was shocked that G&E said $5,000. I mean, I'm sure over the years they've billed us more than $5,000 to try to keep that roof from
Leaking.
leaking. So, But,
'Cause
the other thing is, the beach party. I've got enough of, obviously, I'm gonna get some to Lori to have for the alumni gathering. But the beach party, I might look normal, but I'm not. At about 5 o'clock, I start to melt a little bit. So for me to spend all day at the beach party, I don't know if anybody is willing or wants to help. I mean, I have a tent, because last year for the Apple Fest, I got a pop-up tent, I have tables, and whether or not, I'm still toying with the fact, if somebody might help,
What's the date?
The
May
second.
2nd.
July
Yeah,
So-
July 2nd.
So whether or not, I can help set up, and then if we share time or, then I'll be up there to help tear down, because I'll go up and watch the fireworks.
Okay.
But, and then I'll.
Let me
print
just check
things out.
the
Yes,
calendar at home, but I think I
exactly.
can.
Okay,
That'd be
and
great.
we'll figure it out, that
Yeah.
we can split
Yeah.
the time, or I'll go make my mother.
Right, and
I would offer, but we spend 4 days in range.
Yeah.
And my boy's coming home, so I'm.
No, you
I
have
won't
to
come
be at the beach
Yeah.
party.
Yeah, let me, yeah, I should
Please
be able
not be at the
to.
beach party.
Yeah.
I should be able to, so I'll
That'd be
check.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just-
All right.
I have just one general question. I know that all the money you're raising now will be subtracted from what the town voted on. So when do you think most of the money will be spent? By November, do you think, or what?
Oh, I don't know, but.
I mean, the new roof, new.
Well,
heaters.
there is certainly going to be things that we're targeting to get done, obviously before winter, but.
Right, well, right, you get it
But,
winterized.
Yeah, but, product delays,
hard to say.
product availability,
Just contractor availability.
contractor availability.
Well,
It's
I'm
gonna
just-
be a while.
I'm wondering if some of these applications for like the Snyder Foundation or the Goldstone family, if maybe we shouldn't wait until after all of the town money is spent and then.
Oh, well, we
use it
can't
to
spend
some-
beyond. We
only Right.
have that money to spend.
Well, no, but I mean, you can get fundraising beyond, can't you?
No.
No, I would.
The
say-
way that warrant read was that we have 1.5, whatever it was, and that's all we have
Mhm.
So,
As a
yeah,
So all the
combination.
fundraising
is
Doesn't
coming
go on
out of
top.
what the.
Yeah.
comes out of what the
It
town is
reduces
gonna
what-
pay?
Exactly.
Reduces what the town.
Yes,
you're saying we can't fundraise afterwards?
we can fundraise probably afterwards, but I mean, essentially whatever we're lacking. So if we can do everything and there's no furniture in there, we could fundraise.
Well, that's
and
what
do
I'm saying,
something
yeah.
Specific, probably, and have to do probably another warrant article
So
Right.
you
you
know,
should do that.
to do
Okay.
that, and I would assume that would how it would have to go,
Okay,
because,
well, that's good clarification.
yeah. So,
Yeah, the actual amount borrowed may be reduced by fundraising and grants.
yeah,
It says
Exactly.
maybe.
maybe, because of course, you don't know how much fundraising or
Yeah.
grants or whatever. It was a big bone of contention writing this
Mm,
and how it would be written and how it would be worded.
Yes, it
It
was.
was, so,
Okay, well, I just wanted to
yeah,
clarify that.
yeah, I would love to be able to have 1.5 million plus
Plus whatever.
fundraising,
Right.
but,
Well, I'm just thinking it may need that. you
oh,
know.
well, yes. But, if we could go back in time before everything went through the roof, picking like the absolutely worst time to doing things, but anyway, it is what it is
And I think,
now.
we're gonna have to be really conscientious about, I think important things need to be the best that we can afford.
Oh, you're right.
Windows,
I'm thinking like the roofing where he said
Roof.
ceramic tiles
yeah,
might,
I actually talked to Randy about that, because he was very concerned. He
Yeah.
can't find contractors that have worked with material.
Yeah,
And the ones that he has talked with from away, it's very expensive to install.
okay,
He is gonna try to price it for us, but he's also giving us the alternative, which is let's do your 25 or 30-year nice asphalt shingle. And because right now, why take away from many other
yeah, I know.
basic necessities
Mhm.
for that?
Yeah.
That could always be another, 25 years, somebody wants to, swap it out because it's due, great. you know, but again, but we're not saying no.
Mhm.
Just, he's gonna give us those
Yeah.
options in the whole thing, and that's another thing, you know, made me think about the bell as a fundraising. One of the things that he's looking at, and Steve, maybe you can speak to this. They really, to save money, and they're really all about saving money. They want to take what they can from the bell tower and bring it down. And I said, well, I think our whole discussion with that is fine, but if it does any damage to the structure, of how it's
I would like to
built.
see how they plan to do that, because those,
Yeah,
Yes.
the
that's,
timber start at the ceiling level and go clear up into the bell tower.
Right.
There's one continuous 8x8.
right,
The only way they could get that down, they're gonna have to cut them off
right, and that's.
and
what-
set them down on the ground and then
Right.
somehow put it
attack-
back up
yeah,
there.
Exactly. So
glue it
that's-
back together, I
right,
guess, or something.
Exactly.
Elmer's glue. Huh?
So,
Yeah.
but,
Get
or
some Gorilla Glue on it.
somehow access the bell to remove it without damaging the structure.
I think you could get the bell out of there without,
That would save a lot of money on the bell work.
Mhm.
And of course, that would be nice to have if it can be done in a reasonable fashion, because there's got to be work done up there anyways.
Yes.
Yeah, that thing's damn rotten. It
Right.
Needs a lot of
So,
work.
so anyways, those are kinds of the things that he's talking about. He's gonna, you know, give us the work on it up there, but you're gonna spend as much money on staging or man lifts
Mhm.
as you would getting a crane in here for, you know, the morning,
And putting
Setting
it down.
on the ground,
and then taking a crane for another morning. And
putting it back.
so it's those kinds of things that he's really being active in trying to
Yeah.
offer to us, as well as our, with weather vane. Thank you.
Mhm.
I didn't mean to interrupt. your flow.
FYI, no, but FYI, just putting the weather vane back up on Cumston Hall after it was restored, that 100-foot lift, it was $6,000.
Are you kidding?
No, that's.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's expensive.
But they ended up taking half of that off, I believe, because it stuck Mark up there twice, so. He had to call the guy, and then the guy had to go get a
And
computer
Ed,
chip.
Ed did the original repointing 20
Yeah.
years ago on the chimneys, and getting up there is a
Yeah.
challenge. And so it's gonna be the same
Yeah.
here, although obviously not as tall.
Not as
but-
tall,
But still, you know, steeplejacks and whatnot are very hard to come by, first of
Yeah.
all. And
yeah.
so I didn't mean to interrupt
No,
your
no,
flow.
no, I think that's pretty much it for me. So you and I will coordinate for the
Yep,
beach party and get that
I'll
figured
go right
out.
home
And
and
yeah,
check.
let me know, and then we can get that coordinated. And
And did you say that blankets are 70? I
They're
thought we had-
70.
I thought we'd. said
well, they're
60.
35, and then we doubled it. So.
Oh, okay,
So,
so 70.
yeah, they're 70.
And then
All right.
what's the dimensions? Is it 4x8 or? The lap
Remember, they're
blanket?
quite large. No, they're a throw.
Oh,
They're a
so like
throw.
it could be.
They're
used as a-
big,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they're throw, that's a
Okay.
throw. And let's see. Oh, I don't have that email. Like, no, I do have that.
Well, when you find it, if you just.
Yeah. And I think we'll have, I'm hoping that the alumni gathering,
Mhm.
there's a lot of activity
Right.
and people want them for that. Plus I'll put another thing out there for Christmas and,
Right.
then I'll be at Apple Fest and that sort of thing. So.
All righty, moving on to item number 6.
Oh,
Do we have, no,
no, I'm just saying public comment. We
Yeah,
do
but
have
we-
one person.
yeah, I'll ask public for sure. We've discussed the 12th, that's when, we would like to be able to do, the budget, the first budget, and, any approvals of invoices that we receive, which we will have one from George and Randy. So does the 12th work for everybody? Yeah.
12 works.
All right, 6 o'clock here, because it was open, right?
Yes.
Well, it wasn't open, it's
Building
available.
was available, yeah.
Poor
Door
verbiage,
maybe.
yeah. Poor verbiage,
Lodge,
okay. So, I believe it's a Tuesday, July
Yeah.
12th, at 6 o'clock here. All right.
They're 48 by 68.
Oh, yeah,
They're big.
yeah, they are. Okay, cool.
So, I meant to throw some in my car and bring them up here. and
Well,
spaced it
that's
out, so I got here.
Okay, public,
So,
Oh, I just wondered, with the almighty waste business,
you,
is that retainage gonna be released or?
all but $5,000. We're gonna hold $5,000 because we have some work to address with the sewer department. So what that means is we're gonna make a recommendation. Let me do the math, which I'm glad my school teachers lied when they said I would never be carrying around a calculator. Seriously. Okay, demo guy. Okay, so we withheld $44,738.10 if my 10% calculation is right, but it's in that neighborhood. And so we're gonna recommend that we issue a check for $39,738.10, which leaves $5,000 for us to work with the sewer department to locate and make sure the capping of the lines was done to the Monmouth Sewer District satisfaction, and then rebury them. Okay,
Oh,
anything else? Okay,
yeah, that's. I don't mean, I don't know anything about it, but
mhm,
other than the fact that the guy from Almighty Waste claims that was done, it was done in the way he does them for all kinds of jobs.
yeah, you
Right.
were outside talking with Lori when we had this conversation, but according to Paul, that's not how it's done in Augusta or Winthrop or anywhere else.
because there's ramifications to that. Concrete can shrink. And it's not,
And it's poor.
and it's porous, so any infiltration into the system can be direct cost to consumers.
Mhm.
So they have a particular standard that they want to meet, and they don't feel that the pictures provide them the information. So they need to visually inspect. Now, in the RFP, it does say that the contractor is to coordinate with the utilities. That coordination didn't happen. So now we are coordinating. And we've got to figure out if the work is done properly. Not based on his standards, but based on the sewer department's standards to prevent any infiltration. Correct? Did I say that properly? Okay. Good. Okay. And we're thinking that, by withholding about 5,000 should give us the opportunity, because it shouldn't be much more than several hours, I would think, to do that. Maybe a day, liberally, a day,
It would cost $5,000.
potentially.
Well, I'm not sure what the contractor is going to charge for mobilization, transport, and equipment and manpower. It's like, that's going to be your big one. But, I'm looking at maybe several $100s an hour for equipment, for a mini excavator or someone like that, and personnel labor. And then all the materials should be is to get the appropriate size cap. I think those are 8-inch pipes. So you may have to go to someplace like EJ Prescott or that to get the pipe.
Yeah, certainly Prescott would have that.
Yeah,
Did Scott say he wanted to do that?
yes, he
That's
did.
what he said. He said he wasn't gonna pay someone else to do it. He would do it with his
Yeah.
own equipment.
Right, because his concern would be that, like, if I couldn't finish a project and they brought somebody else in, they're gonna charge their rate, and whatever's over
Mhm.
what is in my contract, I get to pay for.
Mhm.
So he doesn't want to have somebody else come in and pay for something he could do for a more
Right.
controlled cost.
And
He has
that's,
his own
and that's fine,
Absolutely.
but
Do you know where he capped that?
that's part of my problem. I saw the pictures, but I'm not
You don't know if it's clear up here or down next to the
down there.
man.
Or down to the third manhole, the one down below where this building and the old building come in. I don't know. All I know is I'd see the blue pipe and it was concrete poured around it, and that's part of the problem.
Mhm.
The other
Okay.
problem that I have with it is what did they do with the sewer line that came out of the building that's retained?
Mhm.
Because I know that one morning or one after you and I went in there,
Mhm.
there was a cast iron pipe that came out of the old building and went alongside that part of that building there that taken down. So,
Really?
yeah. And I mean, there's a pipe that,
I just-
this one that
the whole
for this
thing.
building feeds down and ties in.
Seriously.
Right.
So we don't know. And that's not what we do. I want the documentation on it.
So basically,
And you
you
have to
want
have the
them
documentation.
Yeah.
to cut the pipe as close to the road as possible then and not worry about what happened beyond that point.
Well, there were a series, I think, of 6 manholes to go down there, all right. Cut up here is number one, there was one right at the corner of the building by the underground storage tanks. Then there's the third one which set off the pavement in which the retained building and all that flowed into. Then there's 2, 3 on the fairgrounds property. I think they cut it somewhere down by the underground storage tank, but I don't know. The other thing I don't know is did they actually remove the manholes or leave the manholes in place with the pipe going on? I don't know what they did.
Right. So those questions, if you would include those,
Mhm.
the things that you're concerned about, and maybe that will help us
Yeah.
along for him to say. this
Because
is-
sooner or later, somebody's gonna ask the question, what was there? Or where is it?
I mean, it doesn't matter. I mean, if you get it close to the road and you dig down, get the pipe, cut it and cap it, then
I
As far
don't,
as you're
yeah, where it
concerned, fine.
is, but
Mhm.
I mean, no, they can cap it. It's, you're saying close to the road. It's not going to the road, Larry,
Oh,
because
okay.
it's behind that building.
Oh,
That building is gonna drain in
okay,
to that pipe that's going across the fairground.
all right.
So, but yeah, it should be there. Plus you have this building feeding into it somehow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
So they should have been right off the corner of that old classroom ring. That's where I think it happened, but I'm not sure. He just has a picture of a pipe.
Right, and so the question is, okay, nice picture, not really,
Yeah.
but
Where is that?
where located?
Yeah,
Is
because
that here or is it in Lewiston?
Right, right.
see, the way our standard is, because like I had to inspect the disconnection yesterday for the old manufactured housing down here at 1088 Main Street.
Oh, okay,
When we get a disconnection, I go in there, I inspect to see that it's capped properly, but I also get a location with GPS so we can,
Yeah.
boom, there
I
it is.
have, because with the district, I have on my computer the whole map system of where things are.
Mhm.
And so that way there, after I go to the hereafter or whatever,
It's not
somebody
easy to remember.
somebody will be able to call, because it's surprising the number of calls that I get from homeowners, even though the service laterals are the homeowner's responsibility. Because they were never properly documented when they put the sewer in, people come up and they ask, well, where is it? Or I'll get contractors. And I said, I can tell you where it is in the street, but I don't know where it is on your property.
I just call Steve.
These are the types of things, and these are the procedures that we have implemented since the DEP thing.
Oh, yeah.
And just, and I spent a lot of hours in my professional career tracing down old sewer lines, and water lines for other
Yeah.
communities. So
Okay,
it's,
And there's no way to do it without digging.
no, I want to see it done. It's as simple as that. You have to see it. I mean, sure, you can probably hire somebody with ground penetrating radar and that, but that's another cost. It's
Exactly.
just as easy to dig the thing up. And I know where the locations of the manholes were. I can stake them out, tell the contractor, dig here, dig here. And then once if the manholes are still there, then we can tell what happened.
And Almighty's waste will do it.
Well, the thing is when I first, like I said, I met with them early on, and Scott was there, he and I talked. And he kind of shoved me off at that time too. A couple of weeks later, I happened to drive by, come down the North Hill Road, and I says, geez, everything's going, and they leveled it, but his machinery, his excavators were still here. And that's where I got in touch with Dawn
Right.
and said, you better hold something back or whatever, tell the town, because they were not inspected.
Right.
But he removed his equipment, and then
Right.
it's just
He
gone
could,
from
and
there.
he was notified,
Yeah,
and, he chose to. keep
ignore it.
moving,
Yeah.
Mhm.
He's had it in his own mind. He's gonna do things his way.
Yeah.
And that's his problem.
And that's what I encountered with him when I came up here that day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and,
But he took instruction to not do some
Yes.
work.
That saved him a lot of time and effort.
but, so, yeah, it's, he's just there. I mean, I don't know what it is. We've just had difficulty with contractors who come out of Lewiston and do the work.
Yeah.
They just, I don't know.
Different breed.
Yeah,
But he did say, Doug, he wanted to do it.
Yeah,
He doesn't
Yeah,
want us
he
to-
doesn't want to get anyone
And
else.
that's completely understandable.
and that's fine,
Control your.
Well, he has his own heavy equipment, so.
but I'm gonna be there when he does it.
Right,
Yeah.
has to be coordinated.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm not sitting there doing nothing all day.
Right, exactly.
Mhm.
I just wanted to be clear on that because
Yeah.
Yep,
there would be some money held.
Well, not only that, I suspect there'll be other repercussions. I think it's gonna be a little bit of a battle with it.
yeah, I agree,
Fortunately.
I agree. But if we can do things in such a fashion that, if we can find out from his opinion where that picture was taken, just tell us.
Yeah, unfortunately,
us
he
a-
didn't want to talk to us about it at all.
Right, and as a sub, we've been talking quite a bit,
Mhm.
and I'm like, I know I deal with what you deal with every day,
Mhm.
with things, so I'm not on your side.
But I
am-
understand.
I understand, and I'm trying to represent you the best that I
Yeah.
can, because, every sub wants to be paid.
Mhm.
So what can we do to make sure that you get paid for the job we expected
Mhm.
to pay you for?
Yeah.
Well, it's in the contract. But there was an RFP, there's an
Mhm.
expectation. Yes, we had some challenges, but now I will jump on the bandwagon of you were supposed to coordinate. And he will come back, I'm sure, and say, well, there was nobody on site to coordinate. You had his card.
Yep.
And, and because of the RFP, if you didn't have somebody to speak to, you should have been reaching out to the sewer district and the water district.
Yep. That, not
That's
only
what
on
I
that
would have
part,
done.
but also under the dig safe law.
Mhm.
Right, and the dig safe law. My goal it would be, who wants to go into battle for $5,000?
Exactly.
Which is why I tried to buy some goodwill talking with Justin, with the water.
Mhm.
thing. But again, I agree, who would say that, but
Mhm.
he took their suggestion but didn't take yours.
Mhm.
Yeah,
So there's not a continuity here.
you're right.
So if we can, just say, okay, this is specifically what we need. This is why we believe we're entitled to it.
Yep.
And we will do whatever we can to make it as quick of a project as possible. I
Mhm.
mean, nobody wants to jerk anybody around. It
No.
doesn't help anybody,
Mhm.
You don't want to be wasting your time. We don't want to waste his time. But we need this information because X, Y, Z.
Mhm.
So it's just, can't help it. This is what we have to do. And I don't care what they do in Lewiston. I don't care what they do on state projects. So I would really need to have, if I'm gonna, be.
Yeah, I'll see what
smart.
they have, if they have something,
Yeah,
Mhm.
if you had coordinated as
Mhm.
you were asked to do, and you say early on, you met with him early on,
I can get the date out of my calendar,
Yeah.
but yeah, I believe it was April 4th or 5th,
okay,
Mhm.
because it was short. I got a call shortly after they broke the water main out here or whatever, and Dan Duma, the Public Works Director, called me and said, can we meet on site? And it was a Monday. It was a Monday morning. And I said, all right, I'll meet you up on site and I'll show you where the sewer line is and so on like that. And I was going around with Dan, I marked up the sewer manholes, painted them. And Scott showed up. And I saw something else, but Scott was there and I handed him my card and he says, and I told him, I says, you're gonna have to cap the sewer. He says, who's responsible? He says, that's your responsibility. I told him that. And he
So
Kinda blew me
they
off.
were digging and they broke the water mains?
No.
No.
Yeah,
The town broke the water. main.
no, that's it, no, they,
Oh, they
broke-
broke. I thought
they
you were
broke-
talking about. when
no,
they
not,
were-
no, not the one for this building.
Not for
I'm
this
talking
building.
the-
Oh, that building.
That
Oh,
building,
yes,
they
that
broke
one
the
over
night-
there.
There was a large main, I think there was a 6-inch main or 8-inch main that
Yes.
came into that building
Yeah,
from the
we
road.
were trying to find the.
And they
shut off.
broke that and so on like that, and that was creating
Into the
quite a bit of
1856
havoc,
building.
yeah.
Yeah.
So after that, I got a call from Dan Wells, and I also got a call from Dan Duma, and I said, all right, Dan, I'll meet you up here on Monday morning. And we did. And then, Scott showed up and
So if he'd done the dig safe, he would have known where that water main was.
exactly, exactly.
Oh,
Because if they call dig safe, again, Winthrop is not part of dig safe, but they get the notice
Right,
and they come over and they mark everything.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like they've marked all the water shutoffs going down Maple
Maple
Street.
Street.
Yeah, and so on like that for that.
Because when I had a tree stump removed, I called Dig Safe for that because
Yep.
I was having that ground up and.
Did you
even
call
though I-
Roger?
I had no idea. I knew we weren't anywhere close, but still, do you
When
were.
I was talking to him out there at the very end here,
Mhm.
when Maury was out there, he said that, oh, I remember meeting that guy. But then when I looked at his card, it said surveyor. So I figured I don't need a surveyor. So he just,
Oh,
How many lines did he cap?
I don't know.
Because
I
I,
don't know.
another question for him.
wasn't there
There
a
was.
line coming out of the
Yeah,
building
yeah,
over
that
there?
corner there, and there was
Yeah,
another one at
another
the
one
other
down
corner
here.
there. I figured he would just cap the 4-inch laterals that came in from the building and leave the manholes and the whole 8-inch line in the ground.
Oh,
But from the pictures, I think he cut the 8-inch line in somewheres and kept that or plugged that. So,
we don't know what he did.
no, I mean, I got a picture. And yeah, I don't have a separate business card for the sanitary district. So I give people there, but that's my contact
Yeah.
information. So, and I thought I explained to him that I was chairperson of the district. I was here for the sewer district.
he forgot.
But it's interesting, see, that he admitted to you that he did remember meeting me.
Yeah.
Mhm. Okay.
I'm not trying to be difficult, but Tim, we have to live by standards and I'm just trying to look out for the consumers, for the
Right.
service people. They
And
use the
that's our
district.
job, and that's what I've been telling him as we've been talking. I understand because I'm in your boat every day.
Mhm.
Because there's always challenges, right or
Yeah.
wrong, that's the way it
Mhm.
happens. But I'm a taxpayer
Mhm.
and, I don't use the water sewer because it doesn't,
Mhm.
Go to
Yeah.
us.
yeah,
Mhm.
we're off the beaten path, but, who needs, our system that people are paying for to do more work than necessary.
Mhm.
So I have to, sorry, it's my job to try to walk the line. So,
Tell him we wanted at least a $10,000 credit for not removing
Yeah,
that wall.
right.
Guy who,
Okay,
like I
we
said
have
yesterday, they
motion to
wanted to.
adjourn.
I know that we adjourned.
Second,
Yeah.
all in favor? Unanimous.
Everybody else.
Get tired of head
Chris, I
stand
need
up.
to get,
wasn't
remember
trying
those
to-
things that
no,
you made that you had
Yeah,
last year? I want to get them for
All
beyond
right,
my day.
thank you. I go over and push the A button.
I'm so glad you're doing well. I
Oh,
really.
so am I.
I thought
The
there was an
alternative wasn't a good one.
No, no.
The buildings that were getting demoed.
Yeah,
When you and I
exactly.
checked them out that day,
Yeah.
The frame, you know.
the